think the first thing I want to say is, who's to say that crying a lot is a bad thing? I think it's a good thing. I think it shows emotional maturity, actually, that you are aware that there's so much to feel in the world, and you're brave enough to feel it and to allow it through instead of identifying with it or clinging with it. I think I could also say that maybe you're an empath in a way. Like, maybe, I wonder if is it just your emotions you're crying for, or do you like feel happy and then suddenly like a wave of sadness hits, and like maybe it's somebody else's, right? Like, maybe you are actually emotionally processing other people's emotions, or the collective, right? Like, think of everyone on earth, there's a lot going on right now. Like, maybe you're processing the collective's emotions. And yeah, all that to say, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that just shows that you're like deeply sensitive, and also like, I think an amazing light worker, like helping alchemize these emotions and process them for yourself and for others and for Earth. So that's huge. But that being said, if crying is maybe getting in the way, you feel like, maybe it's disrupting your life in some way, then I'm like, okay, let's think about it. And for that, like, two thoughts came in. One, I wonder if crying is almost your nervous system's default response as a way that you feel safe releasing emotion, period. So if you cry when you're frustrated, right? When you're wistful, when you're sad, but also when you're happy, when you're excited, like, if crying just becomes the gateway for all those things, again, don't think that's bad, could be good. But I wonder if crying is just a way that your body feels safe to do it. And instead of, like, for example, like screaming when you're angry, right? Or, not to say, there's healthy ways of expressing rage. Or like being so excited and you're like, yeah. Like, I wonder if you feel safe expressing in those ways. And maybe that's something to explore, is like, what are healthy ways to express anger and rage and frustration that isn't crying? Like, maybe it's screaming in your car, I do that, or screaming in a pillow, or dancing really aggressively, like stomping on the ground and just, getting the energy out, going for a run maybe, or just dancing in your room, rage dancing, or like throwing a towel or a pillow. Again, see what works for you. But I wonder if you explore feeling safe in more of those ways, if your nervous system will now have a menu of ways to release, right? So it can cry, or it can scream in a safe way, healthy way, or it can sing even. I don't know, there's so many different ways to express, and maybe exploring more of those will help it so that you can kind of pick. You have options, right? Do I want to cry right now, or do I want to dance? I don't know. Let me know if that helps. I don't know, just an idea. And then the other thing, also having to do with your nervous system and safety, but I wonder if, so crying, it is also actually just a way of regulating, right? It's a way that our nervous system, our body, regulates itself. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or imbalanced, it kind of helps bring us back to ourselves and to center. And so maybe that's something to look at too, is when you go out and about in your day and in your life, most of the time, are you feeling balanced and regulated and centered, or are you feeling dysregulated a lot? And that's so fair. It's like, there's a lot of things going on. But like, are you kind of a little bit on fight or flight and stress all the time without realizing it? Because it's become such a unconscious survival wound or pattern just to survive, right? And maybe it's your body's way of just like trying to get you into the parasympathetic rest and digest part of your nervous system. And so maybe similar, right? But maybe you can create a menu of different ways to just have nervous system regulation and balance. And that's, that can be expressing your emotions, like we said before, or it can be different things, right? So like, I like to doodle a lot, like doodle with no plan, pen on paper, just like, I almost feel like I'm moving the energy in me through my hand, through the paper, and it's like releasing from my body that way. That regulates my nervous system. Or humming, singing helps me regulate. Deep breaths, Avi. Or yeah, like listening to some sound frequencies, or journaling, or just walking outside and like hugging a tree. That like really helps me come back to center again. So yeah, I wonder if maybe exploring this different menu of options for nervous system regulation too, if that will help you create a baseline of more balance just normally throughout your life. So maybe your body doesn't need to use crying as a way to regulate. I don't know, let me know. This is all just food for thought. And again, also ask like your therapist and professionals, like take this all with a grain of salt. But yeah, that's just what kind of came to mind when you asked that. So hope it helps. Okay, bye.